Hi, I'm Teach, and this is Avatarlife. It is a 3D virtual world, sometimes referred to as a metaverse, and it is completely free. Yes, of course, like any of the virtual world economies, you can um, invest money in items. There's a marketplace, etc. For those of you who are creators, to sell your items. But all of the initial setup, as I say, is completely free, including free land, free avatars, free clothes, and even free houses, and also obviously free landscaping, such as one of the items, the bench I'm sat on. Okay, what we're going to be doing over the next few sessions is we're going to be making our dream home in Blender. Blender being a completely free of charge, once again, and completely free of charge 3D building suite. So you can, well, it's more than a 3D building suite because you can make a video, special effects, video effects, 2D animations, and a whole range of other things. But the main thing we'll be focusing on these sessions is its 3D capabilities. Okay, so the process we're going to go through is known as architectural visualization, otherwise known as archviz. It's a well-known, tried and trusted practice using Blender that people actually make real-life jobs out of, real-life businesses out of, and you could too, maybe. At the moment, you're probably maybe a little bit nervous, maybe a little bit excited, but you don't quite know. The only thing that you don't actually currently know is what to do, as in what buttons to press, or how to do it. That's what we'll be covering. However, we'll do it in a structured manner, so each and every step of the way you will know what the plan is and where we're going to. Okay, so the throughout the process we will be using free tools, so I'm not going to be asking you, apart from maybe some little bits of upload costs, which are not a lot, just to get items uploaded onto the grid if you wish to. But in essence, we won't be. The course itself is free, and the resources we're going to be using are free. So, without further ado, let's get going. At the end of this lesson, you should understand what archviz is and why it's important. Gather inspiration and reference images for your own house designs, and start building your own house model using Blender, and then using the free resources to enhance your model. Okay, so without further, first thing is what is archviz? Well, I'll cover the basics. Okay, well, it's much easier to show you than tell you. So let me begin showing you. So I'm just going to stand up, and I will turn around, and this is actually our campus building. Okay, so this little pagoda here with the fountain is actually archviz. Okay? Somebody made the decision of the simple things like how wide should these columns be, how many columns there should be, what shape that pagoda should be. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just a pagoda. We can actually go one step further than that. So let me just take you over, running through, and I'll take you over to one of the campus buildings. And let me just zoom out so we can see it. As I'm just zooming out. This is our campus building, Block B. So, as you can probably see, it looks like a campus building, actually. And it is a 2-story building. And the person who made it, wasn't me by the way, decided that they were going to have concrete steps. And gardens out front, pathway through it. And then they decided, oh, we'll have some glass doors. These are all steps of architectural visualization. They then decided all this and then went through and built it, including building the classrooms that we use. You see, looks very much like a classroom. But this is my classroom. This is where I teach. So, architectural visualization. There is a lot to archviz, but it is all in essence exactly the same thing. What tables and chairs to put in this room, old-style school tables, was a decision that was, whether or not the person knew it at the time, was an archviz decision. So, internal to the building, external to the building, is all about visualizing buildings. So, without further ado, let's find some resources. I think that's the next thing we need to do. So, I'm assuming that you all have downloaded a version of Blender. If you haven't done so, there is a previous video of mine exactly on that topic. The version of Blender which I'll be using for most of this series is version 4.0. I repeat, that is version 4.0 of Blender. Simply because it's long-term support and some of the tools we'll be using, although they're available in earlier versions of Blender, have been improved over time. And 4.0 is probably about the most recent that doesn't overtax lower end machines, so we can all enjoy and work together. So, well, that's Blender. We'll go back to Blender in a few minutes because we do not start architectural visualization in Blender. First, we're going to need some reference images. We're going to have to look and decide what we like, what we want to do. That's the first step. So, we will throw up Google. You'll see got lots of tabs. I always have lots of tabs open. And the first thing we will actually do is we will go on and we will go to Google itself, which is there, and I'm going to type in dream luxury mansion. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. We get some images. So let's go over to images. And we can go through and see lots of real life images of mansions. As you can see on the screen, we've got ones with pools and very modernist square cut edge building. Would be reasonably easy to build within Blender. Then we have something, well, with a wooden cover of some form, the roof. I don't know the exact word for it. Again, a nice building, similar in style to the previous one, but slightly different. And again, a similar design, but this time they've added curved edges and lots of curved lines, which, well, kind of gives it a nice organic flow. Then we have one that's, well, maybe a little bit more of a traditional mansion style design, especially with the lines outside. But there are lots and lots and lots of styles of architectural visualization. Now, I'm going to go into Google. I'm not going into any of the software yet. I'm literally using Google. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to type in archviz. And if you type this into Google, I can either do archviz, which usually gives me the exterior and internals, but I'm going to do archviz interiors. See, phrases there. And as you can see, some really stunning looking work, none of which isn't something that we can't do in time. It's all begins with basic geometric shapes, which quite a few of you will probably be used to if you've been building in the virtual worlds, because you'll know them as prims. That's what a prim basically is, a primitive shape, or rather a 3D primitive shape. So, we'll go over how we get from your little primitive boxes to something a little bit more like that, as well within the series. But the first place I start when I start with architectural visualization is to start with the exteriors. So, and I start with references. Even though I must have built thousands of houses within virtual worlds, I always look for references. And there's a very, very nice free piece of software. You can pay for the subscription you like, because it helps them out if you go one of those people with extra money. But there's a free piece of software that's available to all of us that you can get free of charge for doing the next stage, which is, once again, go back to Google, and I'm going to type in purref. Purref. This is a piece of software we'll be using. All that Purref does is it's for storing reference images, and you can download it, install it. I've already got it downloaded and installed, so I'm just going to go and find it. PU, that is Purref, and open it up. Now I could recover the my last save. I don't want it. I'm not particularly worried about it. Okay, I'm going to put ask later because I don't need it right now. Okay, and I get a message that I've got a new version available. I have already updated. I've just skipped. I'm just going to skip it for now because it's not that important right now. The point is to get working and get doing. So I've got my Purref screen up. I'm going to go back to Google. I'm going to go to a site that I personally love for reference images, and it's a well-known site. It's called Printrest. The reason why I love using Printrest is it keeps learning, especially if you sign up an account, free account. Don't worry about the payment. You don't need one. But it continually learns about what you are looking for and what you're interested in. It tracks it by the cookies and its AI model. So you can probably see on my Pinterest, I've already got it coming up offering me house designs. Yeah. Now what I could do, I've been doing it for a while, I could just click on one of them, and it gives me lots and lots of pictures of houses, of various different parts of houses, including a very nice door there. But yeah, we got lots of houses. So we need to pick some. We need to come to some decisions. Well, those decisions are up to you. These are your dream houses, not mine. One of the ones I'm going to start with is all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this picture. So that one there. I'm going to click it. I'm going to hold my mouse button down. I'm going to drag it on over Pinterest on the bottom and straight into Pinterest. There you go. That's all it is. And we'll go back. Now, if you've got two screens or you want to put them side by side, you may do. I very usually do. I usually make my Google window, my browser window a bit smaller, so I can see my purref behind it. Oh, and I kind of like that. So I'm going to put that one out. And you can see it's constantly giving me new options for things, and based on its AI model of the original thing we were looking for. So if I click this one now, okay, it will also give me underneath lots and lots of other similar style images. But there's a reason why I picked up that one, and I'm also going to pick up this one. And I'm also going to pick up this one. Which ones you decide. These are just your reference images. This is just ideas. You can have as many ideas as you like. The more ideas, the better ideas. Okay? And that's how we work. So, I'm kind of starting, and it's not an uncommon thing for me, styles of design are personal choices. I personally like either Edwardian, Victorian, Art Deco type of style of work, and also what we refer as the modernist architectures, the square block buildings, but square block buildings that have a very polished and clean look about them. As somebody, as reminds me quite constantly, one of my fellow builders, less is more. And I'll tell you what I mean about that. There's a school of design called minimalism, and the whole idea is you make clean, geometric shapes, and you don't clutter your clutter's a bad word because sometimes it has negative connotations, and sometimes there are design styles that you do want to clutter, but with the minimalist style you do not want to clutter. Everything is clean, everything is crisp, tidy shapes. So there we go. But I kind of like the minimalist design. There's lots of other design skills and lots of other design types and styles. There is what's called modern European. There's Art Deco, as I've already mentioned, minimalist, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And that sounds like a lot of information and a lot of stuff to learn. At the end of the day, the style that you choose doesn't need to be even one of those styles. It's probably going to be several of those styles all mixed mashed together. You'll learn those over time as you get into the idea of doing it. The important thing, and the most important thing, and I will say this to anybody, what you build comes from you. You can get reference images by all means. You can even, and it's quite common and not unusual, see something you really love and it's exactly, and it's your dream thing, and you rebuild it. You make your own version. But what it is entirely up to you. If you decide that your dream sofa, for instance, is a bright pink fluffy elephant sofa, fantastic. Would I personally probably do it? Probably not. Would there be people who go, wow, I want that? Probably. Me? I might get it for the kids' room, but I won't put it in my living room. But that's the point. This is up to you. One of the things I made a long time ago was a coffee table. The whole thing of the coffee table is the coffee table was actually a full fish tank inside the coffee table. Some people loved it, some people hated it. The people who loved it, great. The people who didn't like it, still no problem. But it's all about what you like. Okay, so there's my reference images. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Should I get some more? Probably. Okay, but for now, just for time in this video, I'm reasonably okay. I've got the bare minimum of design ideas. I mean, I've not really got any ideas of what I'm going to put inside the house yet. Got some basic idea that I want a pool and I want a square house. I kind of like the window frames on this, and what appears to be a garage. So, and the outside balconies. I love external balconies. I think every house should have an external balcony. Unfortunately, my own one in real life doesn't. One day it might. Right. So, without further ado, our next thing is, now we've got our reference images. I'm not getting rid of the reference images, by the way. I know you won't be able to see this. I'm just sliding them over to my other monitor. And then I'm going to slide my Google down. And there we go. We're back. You should be back into AVL. Now, we need, obviously, to load Blender. As I said, previous article in the series on my Blender for Beginners shows you how to load Blender and the basics of them. By all means, check them on out. But, well, Blender, I have lots of versions of Blender on my computer. As I said, the one I'm going to be using is 4.0. So, we will begin with filing up 4.0. Okay. And I'm just going to go to the General tab. Okay. And I'm actually going to load an older project just to show you. Okay. And then I'm going to come back into a new project. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to go File. I need to open. Don't save it. Keeping organized. Keeping it organized while you're building is, well, important. There is no such thing as doing too much organization. I wish, obviously, I very much wish I had more of a habit of being more organized. But I do have a work on my work machine. I do have, let me see. Sorry. I do have my hard drives, etc., organized for storage. I would highly recommend with Blender, especially because you're going to be using a lot of textures over time. You're going to be using a lot of Blender files over time and a lot of export files over time. I would recommend, if you're working on a laptop or you do not have multiple hard drives in your computer, then a USB stick, which are fairly cheap, or an external hard drive. Both work as well. But I'm lucky I have lots of hard drives in this machine. So, there's my Blender window. Okay. And that's a lot of you will be familiar with that, but just to show you how we get there. So I'm going to close it, don't save, and as I said, I'm going to open up an old Blender file. So I'll go to Blender 4.0 again. And it's opening up on the other screen because that's my usual work screen. A Blender, there we go. So it's open. I'm going to go to General, which just to show you the basic interface. There we go. I can panning around the screen. That's all I'm doing. It looks scary. It looks intimidating. It looks like lots and lots and lots and lots of buttons. However, it is far from complicated. The only complicated thing about Blender is you do not know what buttons to press yet. And that's what we're about to start doing, pressing buttons. So, but before we do that, I will come back to this and I will show you the basic navigation in a few moments, but I just want to show you what is possible. So before I do this, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go into... No, I've not had open recently. So I need to open. And let me just find it. I do believe it's in Blender Work. I know it's in Blender Work. I've probably just passed Blender Work. Give me a second. Textures, vectors, to band. Huh. Yeah. I'm looking through and I'm looking through and I'm looking through. And see, lots of stuff. And there's Blender Work. Okay. Now, each time I start a new project, I put in U, see radio, a small Tuscan Villa, Hellfire, bumper car, tutorials, blockhouse, office, various other things. The one I'm actually going to be showing you is the blockhouse. Yeah. And I've got first floor, ground floor, etc. But I've not got the Blender file because I didn't put the Blender file where I should have done. So, documents. Nope, go back. Sorry. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up, and I'm not finding the blockhouse or anything else because I did save it in there. So, I've lost it. That is the important thing I was trying to tell you. Your files, store them in places where you can find them. Luckily, I'm fairly sure I know where the blockhouse actually is. So I'm going to open and don't save. And then I'm going to go to documents and I'm going to scroll down my very messy documents folder. If you don't save it into an actual folder, you end up with this mess that I'm showing you now. Yeah, you see it? Lots and lots and lots and lots of files, and no idea what half of them actually are. That is the danger. But I'm fairly sure. Let me just scroll up. See my teddy bear. New house. There we go. Just let it load. And there we go. This is a house that I've been working. This isn't the blockhouse. See, named it wrong. This is a house I've started working on. Yeah. I'm going to go to render mode. Yeah. And you can see I've got no textures on this at the moment. Yeah. But I've now gone to render preview mode, and you can see the start of renders. You can see this is based on a storyboard, and pure storyboard. So I went in and I decided what door I wanted, and I made the door. Yeah. It's a simple square prim, or as it's known in here, mesh primitive, and then extra prims to make the window edges and the glass panels, and you can see the floor, got the roof, got some lighting in, I got some bushes and various things. Yeah, and it's starting to take the shape of a house. So all of this is straightforward and not a problem at all. Now here you can see I've got rose bushes. I've got Asti white rose and particle test. All of these are free models. All of these I get from various places. There's lots of free models out there available on the net. So I'm going to give you some free resources. Okay, I'm going to give you a list of some free resources. I'll try and remember to put these in the link in the descriptions. If I've forgotten, we can always edit them in the chat box. But let me tell you about the free resources, and then we'll go back to some of the basic navigations of Blender. Okay, so some of the free resources is all of these models were gathered. All the models here were gathered from a place called. Let me get the name of this right, because I've got that many of them. Yes, BlenderKit. BlenderKit is a plugin for Blender, and it's up on the bar here. And what you've actually got, let me show you them. You've got free models and pay for models. Yeah, and if I was to put in rows into there, okay, and then I'm going to go into the filter, free first, and we've got rose bushes. Notice rose bush, rose bush. This rose bush here is me going, oh yeah, I could do with a rose bush there. A lot of the time, the 3D models that you bring in will not work very well within World. You'll end up by having to do a lot of work to get them to work in World. But we can go over those on later episodes. Right now, I just wanted to show you we can make things. Okay. So, BlenderKit, optional for free models, free textures. Polyhaven, CC0. Let me show you the CC0, because it's you kind of like blow you away. What? Because one of the things that we all know if we've been in any 3D virtual world, is about textures. And well, I'm going to put CC0 textures. There it is. Okay, CC0 copyright Creative Commons. That's what it is. Creative Commons 0. It means that the textures that are labeled CC0. Yeah, and you can see there's a big long list of them. Yeah. all of these textures and materials are free, completely free. They are free for you to use. They are free for you to use in things that you are selling. Preferably, don't try and sell the actual materials themselves, the textures themselves, but you can use them. So, if, for instance, I needed a brick wall, well, I could build a simple cube prim, yeah, or cube primitive mesh in Blender, and I could go into here, and I've got lots and lots and lots and lots of brick textures, and we can pick one, and we can download it, and then unzip it and use it. We also have a site, well, it's used quite a lot by people. Place called Sketchfab. Again, whole library of resources ready and available to go. Some of them on Sketchfab are paid resources. There are quite a few free resources on there, but again, some will and some won't work easily and quickly within any of the various 3D worlds, such as Second Life or any of the various grids. You would have to do a considerable amount of work to bring them in and get them uploaded and working. But for right now, we're going to start making our own. So, without further ado, let's learn a few things about the basic interface of Blender. The first thing I'm going to do is File, New, General. This is most of the archviz work you will be doing will be within the general workspace of Blender. So, we're going to show you a few little nifty little moves, and then we'll move over. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use something I would recommend to you all, a 3-button mouse. Okay, if you're on a laptop, you and don't have the 3-button mouse available, or on a Mac, then you can use these little gimbals up here to turn and etc. But if you're lucky enough to have a 3-button mouse, you can use your middle mouse button, click and hold, and do exactly the same thing, turn it. Yeah. You can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Yeah. And you can use your shift and your middle mouse button to move and pan backwards and forwards. So, nice and easy. Yeah. You've got various, as they say, viewing modes of Second Life. You've got the wireframe, which is just a wireframe of the object. You've got a solid view, yeah, which will shade it in solid and basically make it solid. You've got material preview view. Now, material preview is a little bit strange in the fact it will preview the material, and it will give you a general idea of the material, but it is not a rendered view. It's just an approximation for you to work on when you're working on the later on when you're working on material work. And then you have a rendered view. Now you can see the rendered view similar to the material preview view, but it's now using the lights that will be setting up within the actual program to actually light the model. So you've got your middle mouse button to rotate. You've got your various views. Okay, and play about with them. You're not going to break it. Even if you do, you can just file new. Okay. The next step we're going to actually do is we're going to add some basic shapes. Yeah, it's out the basic shapes, because you all presume know how to add a cube in the 3D world in Avatarlife. Well, let's show you how to add a cube in Blender, shall we? I bet you all think, oh, this is scary stuff. It's not. Now, this cube here is called default cube. It comes up as default. Most of the time, a lot of other creators, a lot of other tutorials will tell you to immediately delete everything out of the scene. I normally don't. I am going to do right now because I don't want like a lot of cubes, a lot of various cubes in, and I'm going to just delete this cube. How to do it? Okay, I'm going to edit and undo. Just like any other application, edit and undo is on Control and Z. Okay, and I'm going to click this and press delete. Yeah, that easy. Okay, and I'm going to edit and, as I say, undo. So I'm going to show you how to add an object. We go this here, the 3D cursor. If I'm going to zoom all the way down to it, and it doesn't really get any bigger, unfortunately. But yeah, you can see that little red circle there, red and white circle on my screen with the arrow with the crosshairs on it. That's the 3D cursor. Okay. That is where where my 3D cursor currently is. So that is where I'll be working. Yeah. Let me just zoom out a little bit. This is our grid. It's set up. I think it's currently set to 1 meter by 1 meter on mine, but we will consult out at a later date of setting up your grid. But right now, as I said, we just want to add a simple object. Mesh, cube. And there we go. I've got my mesh cube. Okay. And the next thing I want to do is I want to maybe move my mesh cube. Yeah. Okay. There is move buttons over here. Yeah. But there is also the G shortcut. If I press G, I can then move my mesh cube. But at the moment, what I want to do is I just want to move it on the up and down axis, or which is the Z axis. So I press G, Z, which will lock me onto the Z axis. I can't move it left and right or back and forward. I can only move it up and down. But as soon as I get it to where I want it, which is on that line there, I can click it, let go, and once again I can move around. Okay, and I'm exactly on the center line, and the base of my mesh is exactly on top of the grid. So the base of my cube is exactly on top of the grid. So that is either your move buttons over here or G. Then you can move it in any direction. If you want to lock it to a specific direction, such as Z, you press the Z key, the G, then Z, and it just goes on that one. And if you stuck in and you've gone, oh, I didn't mean to move it, just press escape and it will go back. If you've already clicked, then press Control and Z and it will undo the move. So I've moved my box. But so I can move. That's nice and easy one. So the next thing I can do is I can scale it. Now again, I have a scale button here, which will let me do it. But if you hover over it, it tells you that there's a shortcut of S. So I'm going to press S. Okay, and I want it to be bigger on the y-axis this time, so left to right. S, Y, and then I can make it bigger that way or that way. Yeah? And now I want to make it just panning around as usual. Either way, either the center button or the gimbal at the top. And now you can see I'm a little bit wide for a wall. Well, actually, this is not going to be a wall. This is going to be our house. So I'm then going to click it. I'm going to S, Z, and I'm going to scale it a bit, so it's a bit wide. So we're starting to get something, a box that could potentially be a house. One important thing to remember is when you're scaling or rotating or moving an object, that you're just telling it, and it will do it, but you're telling it, I want this here. But that's just in Blender at the moment. It's not stored the information to the actual object. It's storing it temporarily within Blender. So this is your object, but it's only storing temporarily. What I want to do is I want to object and apply all transforms. Anything I've changed, so transformed, that's what I want to do. And then, and I'll show you down here, I just Control Z and undo that. If you see down here on this side, my scale is 1.869 by 332 by 1. And its location is 1 meter upon the Z. Just going to change that to 1. And so I can click in the box, change it to an exact number. And the rotation is there. So if I rotate it, and that's what I'm about to do, is I'm going to rotate it, and you'll see the Z-axis, it will rotate it 35.562. But I'm actually going to undo that. I can undo it there as well. And put it back straight. So I want it straight. But you should always apply the transforms. Okay, so that's the outside of the building. Looks a bit boring at the moment. However, what we're going to do next is we're going to add a roof, because we kind of need a roof. There's a couple of ways of doing this. We could make a house, a box like this, and I very often do this, okay? But I'm going to show you for a moment a very simple way of doing this, which has some advantages but has some major disadvantages. So first of all, I'm going to rescale. I'm going to scale this one, S, and I'm going to say scale on the x-axis, and so S, X, and I'm going to bring it in so it's a thickness. As I mentioned before, we weren't going to do it. If you change your mind, we are going to do it. But that's a good thing in Blender. You can always change your mind. All up to you. Okay. So I've got a very simple wall. If I'm going to make a house, I need, obviously, probably 4 walls. So I'm going to call this first cube front wall. So I've just moved over to my scene explorer over here, double clicked on it, or press F2 on it, click it and press F2, and you can put whatever name you like for it. I'm just calling it front wall because it's a bit obvious, see, the front wall. Okay, now I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate it, or you could use Shift and D. Okay, and then I'm going to G, and I want to go front to back, so I want X, and I'm just going to move it back that way. Yeah, X-axis front to back, Y-axis left to right. Got the scene set up. Okay, and now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it again. So we know this, we could right click, but I could just press D, or rather Shift and D. Okay, and then I'm going to put RZ90, which will rotate it 90 degrees on the Z axis, so up and down. Yeah. So because I've rotated it on the Z axis, this is your pivot point pole, there's an axis there, the blue one, and it's rotated around it 90 degrees. I could obviously use my rotate tool over there, but you can use the shortcut. Either or, up to you. Whichever you find easiest. Right? And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to position it just generally by eye into position at the end of the walls. So we're going to end wall in. Again, it's a bit too big, so I'm going to go with Z. And I want X. Oh, sorry. I want a S. See? Easy. Made a mistake, but, well, you know what? It's not my problem. Because we can always undo. S. X. And I just want to bring my wall in to a reasonable amount. Might need to play with it a little bit. There is an easier way of doing that, but we will show you that. But not just yet. I'm going to stay with the general object tools for the time being. We're only editing the objects. And I'm going to Shift D on my wall now. I've got it in. And I'm going to move it, obviously, G, Y. I'm going to move it all the way down this way. I've made another copy with the Shift D for duplicate, or menu option over there. And then just literally just Shift G, or I could move there and move it to the end. So I've now got a roof. Okay, sorry, a roof, 4 walls. I might want, obviously, a floor. So I'm going to Shift D to duplicate my wall. But it's the right size, just the wrong way around. It's the wrong rotation. It needs to be flat. So I'm gonna see, you can use that rotator. Yeah. Now when you rotate with that one, you might not get an exact number, but if you can see down at the bottom here, there's a little thing saying you're rotating. While you're still in that mode, you can go put in 90, and it will literally make it at 90 degrees. 90 degrees as a right angle, and that's what we need because we need it flat against the walls. Okay. And now put my house in. Yeah. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to scale it because I need it a bit wider that way, obviously. So again, I can use my scale tool over here or the S shortcut key and scale. And done. Yeah. And there we go. There's our floor. Okay. So we've got floor, we've got walls. We haven't got any doors or windows yet, but we'll do them a little later. And we need a roof. I'm going to cheat with the roof, and I'm just going to duplicate. Yeah. Shift D for duplicating the floor. Then I'm going to G and move it on the Z and just bring it to the top Now, if you see, I've actually made this, and all I've ended up in the end is the same box that we had on one box. But, however, I'm about to show you how to make a door. Okay. A common thing that you find in 3D worlds is you find an absolutely beautiful, amazing looking house, but it doesn't work because the doors don't work. That's it. You can't walk through the door. You have to turn the phantom or mess about with them, and you can't actually walk through the door. A bit of a problem if you go into a house and you can't get in the door. Some on some builds, that isn't a mistake. The creator was never intending for you to go inside the house. It's just a prop to give a street to give the background for the street view, etc. So you don't actually need to make the inside of the house. Or doors. You need to make it look like a door, but you don't actually need to make a physical door. But we want a house to live in, so obviously we're going to need some doors. Now, there's numerous ways of doing doors. But one option, and I've seen this done by a lot of creators, and it's like, okay, not quite sure why. Sometimes there are good reasons for it, but most of the times there isn't. Is what they'll do is they will get their front wall, and they will basically moving. And I'm just going to show you. I'm going to undo all this in a minute. So up to you if you want to copy, follow it through. Personally, I won't bother because I'm about to show you a much better method. So they'll mess about and they'll put like a door, a wall there, and then they'll go to, okay, I need another wall for it. So duplicate that one. And then moving it over this way. And obviously making it shorter. And they'll put that one in. And then they'll probably put another one here at the top. But then you've got a door that you can walk through. See? You can now see inside our building. Yay! And we think, great, we did it. We made a door. Well, we did. You're right, we made a door. It's perfectly serviceable though. However, what we've actually done, and I'll mention this now, is we've actually made an extra object, extra mesh that we don't actually need. We don't actually need to make it all this way. We never have, weirdly enough, we never actually have. But we can. So again, up to you. But what I prefer to do is I'm going to delete this out. I'm going to duplicate it out over there. It's around about the right size that I want. Just save me making another one. I'm going to leave it there for a moment. I'm then going to bring my wall. In fact, no, I won't. I'll just Control Z because it's easy enough to make a duplicate of the wall. I'm just Controlling Z back to where we were. So there's your front wall, full front wall. And now I'm going to, again, as I said, I'm going to apologies for coughing. Duplicate. And I'm going to move it slightly forward deliberately. So it's away from our wall. I'm then going to scale it. I'm going to scale it to around about door size. So I know I need it around about so big. I can make exact measurements over here, but I'm just going to, because we're only showing you as an idea. This first lesson is I've scaled it and I've made it into a door type shape. And now I'm going to do something that seems really, really strange. I'm going to make our door uber thick. Oh, wrong one. I didn't click on the right axis there, so I just undid it. But I'm going to make it uber thick. And then I'm going to move it into that in so it looks like it's cutting into the wall, which is exactly what we want it to do. We want it cutting through the wall. Okay? Because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wall there, and I'm going to show you a modifier, which I have shown you in previous episodes, but I'm going to show you the Boolean modifier. So here's a Boolean modifier. Add a modifier. It's under generate Boolean. Okay. You want the thing you're cutting out from selected, so that's where the Boolean modifier goes. And then in here, what object you want to cut out. Now you can use an object, or you could use a collection. At the moment we've only got one item in there, so I'm just going to use the object. Very often I will use the collection, because if we've got a lot of doors and windows, I'll put them in a collection and cut out that way. So I've clicked, just like it, I've clicked on the eyedropper at the end, and I've clicked on there. Or okay, I could click on the thing here, and I'm going to do it this way deliberately to show you something that we're not quite done. And click on the thing here, but look, which one of those front walls is actually my door? I don't know. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? I don't know, because I haven't named them. That's why I was saying to you before, naming is important. So let's just go back, take a little breath, and name them. So obviously I know the front wall one is the front wall. I know, there we go, it's highlighted in orange there at the back. That's the back wall. So I'm going to double click it, or F2, and back wall. If you keep your builds tidy and labeled, it will make your whole life so much easier. And this one, well, I always work at the front, so this one is the right end wall. Yeah, so right end wall, and therefore that one is the left end wall. Okay. Now that one is the floor, and that one is the roof, and that one must be left is front door cut out. So I'm cutting it out. Oh, sorry. Try that again. Front door cut out. Now you can call them what you want, just the way I call them. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, as I said, I'm going to go back to my front wall. I now got my Boolean. I can click on the box there, and I can go straight down, and I know exactly what I want to cut out. I want to cut out the front door cutout. Done. Yay. It will not apply. It will not cut it out. Okay. It will give you the view, and it look like a cutout, but it's not cut out until you actually don't do it just yet, but until you click apply. But what we can do is we've still got the box in the way. What we can do is we can turn off the box, the front door cutout box. Here, so it won't actually be seen. Okay, so a little eye at the end of it. Hide it. And now you can see what after when you apply it, before you apply it, what it will actually look like. Okay. So now as you can see, I've got a door, I've got walls, I've got a roof, and I've got floors. Would I necessarily say this is a house yet? Well, it could be. I mean, there are houses in real life that are just four walls, a ceiling, and a door. But it's not really a dream house. But that is the basics of all those skills, all those techniques you've just done there. Is the basics of building your dream home. Over the coming weeks, we will go through more of them. Okay, so what we're going to do over the next few weeks? Well, first of all, what's next? We're going to continue working on your house model. In future lessons, we'll have more detailed textures and advanced elements like lighting and rendering. Spend time collecting something for you to do while you're not around if you've got time. Spend some time collecting more inspiration and practicing Blender's tools. Just make some boxes. You don't have to be perfect. You'll never need to make it perfect because you can't. Nobody can. All you can ever do is as good as you can at the time. Okay? Play with it. Have fun. If for any reason you're trying to do something and it breaks, you've got the undo. However, you've also got me. Send me an IM, send me a message. We can build it together. We can build and work together. Okay? Now, there's something that I've not done. Okay? And it's kind of important. Okay? So, I need to save. The reason why I've left this to this point in the lesson is file, is to show you organization. I can't stress this enough. Try and keep yourselves organized. Going back and organizing after the fact is always a lot more time and a lot more work than doing it as you're working. So save as, saved as. Go to Word. Don't just, well, you can if you wish to, stick in your document folder. I prefer not to. Go to wherever you normally save your work, and you're going to save your work. Now, what I actually, in previous tutorials, we set up this folder called Blender Tuts, Blender Tutorials. I'm going to double click on it. Okay. And I'm actually going to make a new folder inside here. Okay. And I'm going to call it Dream Home. So that's what we're making. Okay. Again, I'm going to open up again. I'm going to go down to and make a new folder in there. And I'm going to call that folder Lesson 1. Then I'm just going to call this Basic Mesh Brim House. Basic Mesh Brim House. Basic, not very complicated, as in, not a lot of detail to it. I've made it in mesh, or rather made it in mesh primitives, and it's a house. So I know what it is when I'm looking for it, and I also know what it is if I have to come across it. And save. And that's it. There's lots and lots of things we could add and do, etc., and play with and tweak with. But this is up to you. So bonus homework optional. Yes, as I said, try and get some more reference images. Have a look round. Get ready because the house, the whatever, those pictures you're forgetting, next time we will be bringing in the pictures as reference images into Blender and showing you how to do that. Okay, or some of them. You won't need all those pictures that you found. Sometimes you leave your reference pictures on your purref board. Sometimes it's easier to work with them when you can see them in world next to the object. Okay. Okay, now I've shown you how to make a door in your house. One of the things that you could, or rather a door hole in your house, obviously adding a door, you just add another mesh primitive cube and size it to the hole. However, what I want you to do, or if you've got time to do and have a look at for next time, houses are great with just a door. Not really. Why not have a go at making some windows, which is exactly the same technique as making doors. Don't forget, keep labeling. Don't forget, keep practicing. Don't forget, if it's not fun, you're probably doing it wrong. So relax, have fun, don't panic, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And that was Teach. With the first week's lesson of creating your dream home in Blender using free resources. And I'll see you next time.